everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. All right, so the message this week that's been coming through is really interesting. It's sort of the theme, I would say, is a clean up and prepare theme that's coming through this week with the messages. But before I go into that, I just want to share with you a few things that are happening. One, we're having some resonance spike. So if you look at anything that shows you the KP index, which is the electromagnetic field of the earth, which we measure, KP has been up. So you might be feeling a little bit of those ascension symptoms. And these ascension symptoms tend to happen when we have some kind of toxin in the body. So this could be toxic spiritual energy, this could be toxic emotional energy, and it could be toxic physical energy or mental energy as well. So it's not specifically just toxins in the body that might be chemical or biology based, but toxins that are happening because of misaligned frequencies. So every time we're having these upgrades with ascension, and we're just being inundated now. It's a shower, it's every day. There's so many people out there sharing the details of what's going on, but you can check it out by checking out the Schumann resonance. You can check the KP index. I use an app called Magnetology, and that's how I check it. But it's inundating. And so either you're clearing this energy out and that's feeling better, or you're feeling it hit you and you're like, oh, I feel exhausted, drained, I feel off. Maybe you're getting sick. Maybe you're having different kinds of symptoms like headaches or nausea. So it's important to check in with that, because it's easy to dismiss these things as maybe I'm just not feeling well, when in truth, there might be some energy that needs cleaning up or being moved, and that's part of today's message. The next thing I wanted to share with you are there are some planetary shifts that have happened this week. Both Mars and Mercury have changed planetary positions, and when that happens, we start to feel that shifting of energy in our lives. Mercury was in Gemini for a while because it was also retrograding there, and now Mercury's moving into Cancer. So the way that we're thinking, so Mercury, when it's in Gemini, it's at its full potency. That's where Mercury rules Gemini. And so we have this very quick, energetic mind. And now the mind is moving into the Cancerian energies. And the Cancerian energies help develop the intuitive senses. It creates a connection to imagination. It also helps us doing this cleanup work around our past, because Cancer rules that energy. It rules the past, what we're connected to and where we came from. So early childhood stuff can come up during this time in our mind as we're trying to clear it. And again, I would encourage you to allow that to happen, because it's part of the cleanup we're being asked to do at this time. The other planet that changed is Mars. Now, Mars was hanging out in Aries, where it was connecting with Jupiter, which I think felt really good. At least I enjoyed that. So Mars again was in its ruling sign. It rules Aries, giving it that sense of fast taking action, wanting to move into action. Now we're moving into Taurus, where Mars gets to slow down and think about it. It's being a little bit more methodical in its choices, and we might feel like we're having a hard time moving into action. But again, if the message this week is about cleaning up and preparing, that's not so much about actions that are outward, but rather more inward and reflective actions as well. What needs cleaning up? What should I be preparing for? We're going to get into that as we go deeper into this week's message. And the next thing I wanted to hit on is that the New Earth Leadership Summit that I started on June 21st, it's still going on. So if you haven't had a chance to catch any of those interviews, I have some amazing interviews coming up that you will not want to miss. And you can go to this link right here, newearthleadershipsummit.com, sign up. It's free, and you can get to hear the interviews that we're talking about how do we bring in this new energy, and how do we stand in our power and sovereignty to become the leaders that we want to experience on this next level of consciousness. And so if that's resonating for you, please sign up and check it out. It is so powerful, the conversations that we're having. And of course, if you want to see the whole thing and you're like, I wanted to see Aaron Abke, or I wanted to listen to Adam Apollo or Foster Gamble, Kimberly Gamble, these are great interviews that have already passed. You can go ahead and click on the VIP link and get full lifetime access so that you can hear every single one of the interviews and also take advantage of the gifts that each of these interviews are bringing forward for you so that you can connect in even deeper. And finally, before we go into this week's message, I also wanted to share with you that connected to the New Earth Leadership Summit, there is going to be a live leadership ceremony where myself and Maria Owl will be connecting together to create a space for calling in that leadership within yourself now. And that's also a free event that you can join. And the intention behind that is really to call that power and energy forward within you and create that sacred space, create a field of energy to enhance this ability that already lives deep inside of you, to help draw it out using that collective consciousness energy to pull it out of the field and quicken it in your life. If you're interested in that, definitely sign up for the New Earth Leadership Summit. Again, it's free, and you will get an invitation to join us on July 14th for the live leadership ceremony. Now, let's get into this week's message. All right, so I've been hearing from my team that there's two parts to this message. Again, there's a cleanup aspect happening this week, as well as a preparation aspect. And the cleanup is really interesting. So they're letting us know that the energy is quickening, and karmic resolution is a big part that has to happen before we can transition into higher densities. And it makes sense, right? Like if you're going to somewhere new, let's say we're moving from one house to another house, any of the garbage, any of the things that collected that you are no longer attached to in that old house, you wouldn't bring it with you into your new home. You would get rid of it. You wouldn't spend your time packing it up, loading it onto a truck and driving it all the way over to your new home. That just wouldn't make sense. And it's the same thing energetically. As we're leaving an old cycle and moving into a new one, there is certain things that just don't need to come with us anymore. There's things that just want to resolve. And so that is part of the cleanup that's being asked to happen right now. And they're saying this karma is going to let you know if you have any karma, because karmic return is coming back right now. They're calling it a boomerang period. So anything we're putting out there that isn't clean or pure in energy, we're going to get back and we're going to feel it. So if we're holding on to negative emotion towards someone, that is going to create an emotional boomerang, right? If we're wishing, if we're holding negative thoughts or we're sending out negative energy, boomerang. So it's important for us to look inside and see what needs cleaning up. What am I still holding on to that is not serving me and it's not going to serve another? Because if it's right, so if we're not in that service to others place, those are the things that come back. Because the higher we go in frequency, the clearer it becomes how deeply interconnected we've always been. But it's like so obvious the higher we go in frequency. So of course, there's a natural desire in our soul to do cleanup work around any lower energies we might be holding, any resentment, any ill will that might be in there, even if it's from the past. And that is something that comes up. It's like dig into the past. And this is where Cancer moving into Mercury can really help us, because as it does that, we naturally, the mind will easily go back and check out early childhood and say, yeah, I still hold resentment towards that one person for this thing. And it's like, okay, we're in this period now. It's like, can you let it go? Because even that old resentment has a way of boomeranging on you. It creates a return. Now, is it the same return as what you're feeling? Not always. But it's like if you feel like you're having a string of mishaps right now, it's time to look back and see, what can I let go of? What can I forgive? And that's the key word there, right? When we're doing cleanup, the word is forgive. It's like, what can I let go now? What can I forgive? What can I surrender to? How can I choose to see this differently so I no longer harbor a lower frequency around it? That's one form of cleanup we're being called to do at this time. Another form of cleanup, which I'm actually quite excited about because I'd love to see this happen on this plane, is any disbelief or doubt you hold in magic, miracles, and faith, right? So if you are like, it's too good to be true, or that happens to some people but not to me, or I just don't know if such a dire situation could turn around and get better, that's some cleanup you've got to do. That's a low frequency. You are literally blocking magic, miracles, and faith coming into your life. The experience of, the return of what you believe in comes back to you. If you're believing in something, a miracle, but you're blocking it because you just don't know if that's wishful thinking or magical thinking, that's a block to it, you're not going to receive it. Well, we're being asked to clear that too, because the next level that we go to is going to blow your freaking mind. It's just, we haven't even seen yet what we're truly capable of. And we're going to have a hard time seeing it if we're literally blinding ourselves to it, because we're just not willing to allow ourselves to go into a place of faith and trust. And you need to go back to, again, this is where Mercury in Cancer can really help us out, because if you go back to early childhood, you had no problem doing that. And that's the kind of mental state that we need to get back to. That was a pure mental state. That was a mental state that was not conditioned or indoctrinated or programmed to see the world a specific way. It was before all of that really started taking hold. You actually saw the world with a clearer set of eyes than you may see it now. And if you're a person who struggles to feel faith or struggles to feel the miracles or the magic that's around you, this is a good time to ask yourself, how can I let this go? How can I move deeper into trust around things that can't be explained, things that have no logical conclusion to them, things that are literally miraculous? How can I allow that in deeper? Because we're being asked to do that right now, and it's for a really good reason. And that really good reason is because it's time to prepare for the future. So clearing all this stuff out, again, raises your frequency naturally. It allows you to leave all the junk behind and move over to the next level with a fresh energy. But the belief in miracles, having the faith and the belief in magic and things that can't be explained is part of what you need to prepare for, because it's what you're going to start experiencing more in your life. And so we're being asked to invoke squirrel energy. And I love this because squirrel's actually one of my totem animals. So squirrel energy is all about, it's a quick moving energy. It's really good at foraging, it's fast moving, and it loves to consider what's coming, and it prepares for it, right? So squirrel's always putting a little bit aside for the future. It's always thinking about its future self. And in this way, we're also thinking about, I need to have this extra magic, this extra miracle energy, the faith energy, I need to put a little bit aside because of what's coming in the future. Because there's truly some amazing things coming there, but also because it's the recognition that you're the creator being. And so preparing, again, is one of the steps of manifesting. It is a step that really locks in the frequency that many people kind of miss. They don't quite get that part, that the preparation is locking in what you want. So by preparing for what you want, literally making space for it, literally setting yourself up for it, you are literally telling the universe, I'm locked in, I'm ready, bring it in. And so that's the other energy that we need to work with and invoke right now. So again, these energies are very localized, right? They're not going out into the world. They're staying within you. They're staying within your general sphere. And so this week's reading is very personal. It's about what you're doing for yourself that will have a ripple effect on the world. So let's talk about preparing again. I've talked about this a few times. If you go back into a few of my karma cards, you can hear more on the topic. But let's talk about that preparation. So again, I'll use the metaphor of moving houses. Let's say and I'll go with the couch. I think it's because secretly I'm ready for a new couch. That's why I always bring it up. But let's say your couch at your current house, the old house, you're like, you know what? this couch, I think it's kind of done. I think it's had all the use it can get, and I'm not sure it's going to make the trip. So you decide it's time to let go of the couch, and you're moving to the new house. Well, obviously, there's no couch there if you're not bringing the old one. So part of this is visualizing what comes next. That's a big part of it. Now, that's the part everybody's really good at doing, I feel, when it comes to manifesting. If I ask someone to go into their field and visualize what's coming, they can give me a full rundown of what's coming. But then I ask them, what have you done to bring that in? And they're like, well, I'm meditating and I'm visualizing. It's like, okay, but there's more to it than that. So if I wanted to invoke the new couch in this new home, in our metaphor here, not only do I want to visualize it, I need to start preparing for it. What room is it going in? What wall is it going to go again? What color is it going to be? What model am I thinking of buying? I would literally need to start doing it as if it's going to happen, as if I'm about to hit purchase, or I'm going to a store and I'm looking at them, I'm sitting on them, I'm trying them. All of that, all of those actions where it's not quite putting the money down on the couch, but all of those actions that lead up to that are the preparation. It's thinking in detail. It's actually pulling it from the mind into the physical world in some form, even if it's just literally leaving an open space for where you exactly plan to put it, and you've got your tables around it, but there's nothing there because you're holding the space for what's coming. That's preparation, holding the space for what's coming, and you're holding it with with that very clear intention that it is coming. So this is the kind of energy we need to invoke in our lives, preparing intentionally for what's coming and holding the space that it is coming. It's no longer, I hope it comes. I'm not going, oh, that would be so great. I really want that man. I hope that happens because I have this horrible feeling that da-da-da-da is going to happen. No. We need to stop adding the horrible feeling. Stop adding the doubt to your creation. That's got to be stopped because it's not serving you. It's canceling out every time you are calling it in. So imagine like you're calling it in and the energy is like halfway here and you're like, gosh, because sometimes it doesn't happen. Cross-canceled out. So again, the preparation part's very important, and we need to stay in that place of, I have no doubt. It is coming. I've made the space for it. So whatever's coming into your life, whatever it is you're calling in, check the thoughts around it. Are you adding caveats to your creation? If you are going so far as to prepare, are you saying things like, I don't have the money for it? Or are you saying things like, I don't have the training for that? Or I don't know how I would get over there? Or all of those things are little caveats that are cross-canceling our manifestations, and we must learn to get more conscious of them and stop them in their tracks, cut them off, edit it out, delete that part. You don't need that in your creation. You need conviction, and that comes from preparation, and that comes from the self-assuredness that this is coming. Yeah, you might not know how you get it or afford it or get over there or get certified or whatever it is that the caveat's trying to tell you about. You might not know any of that, but hold the space for it, and simply insist that it's coming. You don't have to know how. That's the universe's job. That's their part. Our part is to hold the frequency, to hold it in place. And as we do that, we are strengthening the signal, and that signal goes from frequency to matter, right? So our job this week is to do some cleanup work, get clearer on our faith, allow for those miracles, and then get really clear on what we're holding space for, and make sure that we're doing constant cleanup if we're adding caveats. We don't have to do that. That never helped. We never had to do it. The logical mind does it, right? Because the logical mind cannot understand how a miracle can happen. It just can't. It doesn't compute. And this mind, as beautiful as it is, does work like a computer. It can only search what is known. It's an investigator. It's literally going in its little mental web browser and it's looking for proof. Well, if you're asking for a miracle, if you're asking for a shift you've never had before, what proof are you going to be able to pull from? This is where a lot of people get tripped up. Our goal is to simply hold our intention, our desire, and prepare for it with conviction that it's coming. And with that, let's do some karma cards for this week. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for us this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers: a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with your beautiful intuition and you feel, what do I need this week? Am I looking for actions to take? Or am I trying to understand how things resolve within the next week? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for July 6th through July 13th. And the flavor of this reading. Okay, I'm trying to be optimistic. We got Saturn. That makes sense when we're talking about the structure and preparing, or the cleanup and preparing. Wow, is that a Saturn message if there ever was one? So it makes sense that it's here. And the part about miracles and magic happening is also in this reading with Pisces, Saturn working through Pisces. And the part about early childhood and the past and Cancer is also here, with the 4th house representing the house of your home and the past. So let's see what this has to say. For those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to be realistic about your dreams as you did in the past. Be realistic, coming from Saturn, right? So Saturn is not the planet of, faith or expansion. That would be Jupiter and a little bit Neptune. But so Saturn's the one putting the boundaries on it. But your dreams as you did in the past, this definitely calls to your childhood. So this again is be realistic about your dreams as you did in the past. It's really interesting because the realism that it's asking for is realize that your childhood self dreams were legit. Realize that the vision that you held as a child, the clarity that you saw the world with as a child of what was possible is legit, right? And so here it is in this week's reading. Mental action at this time. Be concerned about your realization of your home base or your family. All right, so this one is speaking more to the whole energetic boomerang and specifically towards those we love. So again, at this time, there's a lot of mental cleanup work, emotional cleanup work, especially around early childhood that would directly be connected to your close family, those around you, those who help shape and mold you. So that's where a lot of the cleanup is happening at this time. It's that deep inner child work. Remember, our inner child is always active. And what's beautiful about this message is we have a couple of states our inner child can be in. If we're still trying to heal, if things aren't fully healed and cleared up, we can be in the wounded child archetype, which is where a lot of our drama and problems stem from, is when we have the wounded child where it's not being heard, healed, or addressed. When it is heard, healed, and addressed, we go into the magical child archetype, which is where the miracles live, which is where we start to see through the eyes of magic. So again, we're being asked to do that deep inner child healing, going back, trying to understand, doing inner child work, doing shadow work, where we're looking at where am I still holding pain? And who am I directing or projecting that pain onto? Who have I assigned this to? Yeah, my team's like, bing. If you're doing that work, then you can get those really specific answers and realize, do I have to keep bringing this with me into every day? And do I want to bring it into my future? Chances are you probably don't. And so there's where the cleanup is being illuminated for you. Physical action at this time. You must wait before you can be part of something overwhelming and do what makes you feel secure. Yeah. So, again, I'm telling you, this big shift is coming. That's the thing that's overwhelming. It's planetary. It's going to affect us all, right? So the waiting part is the cleanup and prepare. So they're really just hitting this home. As we do this, as we make this shift, that feeling, if you're coming from any place where you're not feeling secure, so financially, emotionally, spiritually, personally, any insecurity that we currently struggle with at this time, any feelings of insecurity, they dissolve. As soon as this shift happens, all of that crap is done. And I cannot wait. But in the meantime, we've got to do everything we can to shift it within ourselves. So we can't be waiting for something to shift us. Again, we don't want to take it with us into the next level. And the shift is easier, the great shift that we're all going to make. It's so much easier when we have less baggage to carry, right? So if we're waiting for a shift to do the cleanup for us, it's going to be more turbulent shifting. I just think it's going to, I get the sense that it's not painful, not like that, but it's somehow longer. It somehow takes us a bit longer to get over into the more exciting parts of what comes with the shift, right? So we still want to take responsibility for doing that cleanup work. We made the mess, we can clean up the mess in a sense, right? So again, using our responsibility, our personal power, and our sovereignty to do that work for ourselves, and trusting that whatever you can do, it's going to be enough. So it's not about perfection. It's not about absolutely zeroing it out. I don't know if that's possible just with the energetics that we're constantly having to deal with. But I do know if we do the best we can and we're committed to trying and we're digging a little bit into it every day and we're attempting, right, to clean it up and really focusing on how can I forgive here, which for some is a hard part to do. It's a hard part. And yet the forgiveness is really to end the cycle of karma. And if you can focus on that, if you struggle with forgiveness, if you focus on I'm ending a cycle of karma, I'm ending a cycle of karma, it allows you to move into that state a lot quicker. If you're doing that, when the shift happens, there's a lot less baggage. You move through that transition period much faster and you get to the good stuff. So there's incentive to doing the work now. And it's like Squirrel, right? Squirrel does the work now so that she's preparing for her future. She's ready when she gets there. That's the energy that we're being asked to do. Be prepared so that when this happens, you can go into that greater, more positive, more vibrant energy faster. Right, now let's look at outcomes for this week with Saturn and Pisces in the 4th house of our past. The spiritual outcome at this time, the maturity that brings spirituality to ultimately experience what makes you feel secure. Yep, so that's basically what I just said. That's the bonus. That's what we're going to get, right? So by stepping in to our personal responsibility and saying, you know what, nothing is given to me that I can't handle. No mess was given to me that I can't ultimately clear up. There's nothing that's happened that I can't heal. I can heal. I can clear it. I am capable of it. I have the power. As soon as we invoke that beautiful spiritual maturity that allows us to experience a sense of personal security that you may have yet to experience, or at least a deepening of it to the point where, you know, your inner conviction, your faith in yourself and what's coming next gets stronger and stronger. Mental outcome at this time, caution regarding trusting your psychic knowledge of support. So I get that the hardest part of this time, and it makes sense if you think about it, if you're going back to your past, you're in your mind, you're in the memory state, right, which is on the mind plane. The mental part of it is the hardest. So the spiritual part, easy bo breezy, and the physical part, I don't think has it as hard as the mind. So the mind has the most cleanup to do. And that makes sense, especially when we know we've had a lot of conditioning. The conditioning has only increased. There's only more of it now. And I think that's to expose that it's there. But with all of that, it is, it's taxing. It takes a lot out of you, even if you're aware of it, even if you know it's happening, even if you've resisted it. It takes a lot out of you. So there is a lot of extra mental cleanup at this time. And this is, again, so with Saturn in Pisces, it's not a great combination because, again, Saturn's very structured and Pisces is like the opposite of structure. It's not chaos, but it's ephemeral. How do you put a fence around a cloud? You can't. And that's where this mismatch of like, I don't trust my intuition is coming in when Saturn says that. It's like, I wouldn't necessarily put too much stock in that. So again, that's where it gets hard for the mind, because it's like, well, how do I know if I healed that? It's in my head, right? Can I just say I did it and I did it? I don't know. You can try that. I think you know when it's resolved, though. You feel it on an emotional level, and that's the part I would trust, which is connected to your intuition. So there's a struggle between the mind and the intuition, the emotional state right now. Also, there's a lot of stories that have to be healed. So stories about what happened. And remember, everything comes from our personal perspective. So, unless you have guidance doing this, I would say the name of the game here is try to see things in the past from another perspective. If you have beef with a parent, for example, try to see it from the parent's perspective. Could there be another way to view the situation? I mean, one, we do have to acknowledge where we hold pain, of course, but if we're only acknowledging that, we're not really able to heal it if we're constantly coming from that place. So there is this part of us that has to learn to step out and try to view the situation from multiple angles so that we can find that healing, where we can find that moment of like, I finally understand. And understanding creates the healing, allows for the fear to be released and the forgiveness to happen. So again, there's a mental, emotional struggle around this place right now. So there's a good chance that you will go in and do the work and you'll have this sort of conflict around it. Maybe the mind doesn't like it. Maybe it feels too ephemeral or, not tactile enough. It doesn't feel like it's done. Yeah, that's what they want you to know. It doesn't feel like it's done. And so therefore, there's a little bit of mistrust in the process. Understand that you can't put a thought in a box and be done. It just sort of dissipates over time like a cloud. And I think just understanding that process allows us to move through the discomfort of, did I do it or not? Do the work, let it go, and it will dissolve as it's supposed to. Physical outcome at this time: limits imposed resulting from the indecision of or about your home base or family. Yeah, again, so there are parts of this where you might feel within the cleanup healing process like you need to get other people involved. I think that might be hard. I think it's time to understand that, again, this is not, the cleanup and preparation is local to you, local energy, not, inner circle energy. It's not about you to someone else. It's about you to you. And so, again, there's this feeling like maybe I can't resolve this unless I have this conversation. You can do that. You can have this conversation, but you need to hold this space of they might not get it, or you might not get the resolution that you want. So it has to be a conversation free of expectation, which again comes from a place of emotional and spiritual maturity. To have conversations with people where you actually let go of the fact that they may or may not understand your perspective. You may or may not get resolution. If you feel those conversations are necessary, have them. But again, do it from a place of no expectation, because the expectation that somehow they're going to say the right thing that heals you, that's where pain comes in. That's just new pain, because many times that doesn't happen. Many times it was simply you understanding and you letting it go and you forgiving that heals you. Especially when you realize that you're the parent you've been waiting for. That's a big one. When you start to realize that, the whole inner world starts to shift. Now that longing you have can finally be answered. And that's a bigger conversation. And if that's something that you need to have, I would definitely suggest finding someone that you trust that can hold a support space for you and allow you to move through those places so that you can get to that feeling of inner alignment. And while you try to seek it in the external world, if you need to do that, by all means do it. See if you can understand and hold awareness that I have to let go of expectation. And honestly, when we do, miracles can happen. I mean, you can receive exactly what you want, but when you're expecting it, that's usually when there's more to learn, more lessons to learn, more to understand. So I know this week might sound like it's a little heavy. I mean, thanks to Saturn, it's a little heavy. But it's ultimately for the best. I mean, it's in preparation for something miraculous. So if you can keep focused on that, the work feels lighter and it feels more doable. It feels like, okay, yeah, I can handle that. I'm willing to do that because I know the payoff is going to be big. And that's true. The payoff's going to be big. So with that, I hope I see you at the live leadership ceremony on July 14th. Go ahead and sign up here to get the free invite. I'd love to have you there. And in the meantime, I'm sending you so much love this week. I'll be doing the same thing as you. And I hope that you have a beautiful, healing, and miraculous week ahead. Sending you so much love. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.